Hello students, I welcome you to the fourth lecture on AECC Communication English, and today we are going to discuss various forms of communication. So let's begin. So there are various forms of communication. All in all, broadly there are 7 categories. The first one is verbal communication, and verbal communication is divided into 2 parts. First part that you can see as A is oral communication, and the second one is written communication. So both oral and written communication come in the section of verbal communication. The second type of communication is called as the non-verbal communication. Thirdly, there is intrapersonal communication. Intrapersonal is when you are communicating with yourself. Fourthly, there is interpersonal communication when communication is happening between two people. Fifth, it is called as extrapersonal communication. 6 is mass communication, and 7 is media communication. So we are going to discuss all these various forms of communication in detail. Now, what is verbal communication? Verbal communication is, as I said earlier, divided into 2 forms, oral and written. Oral communication refers to the face-to-face communication between the sender and the receiver. 2 or more than 2 people can be involved in this form of communication called as oral communication, who use a common spoken language as a medium of communication so that both the sender as well as the receiver understands the message that is being communicated. Oral communication is used for making presentations, speeches, group discussions, interviews, or in general interaction or conversation, day-to-day conversation. The subpart or second part of this verbal communication is called as written communication. What is written communication? In this mode of communication, the sender uses written mode to transmit his or her messages. It can be messages, reports, books, letters, handbooks, proposals, email. All these things come in the category of written communication. So both oral and written come in the form of verbal communication. Second is non-verbal communication. So what is non-verbal communication? In many cases, no words are exchanged, yet communication happens, as we can also communicate through various forms like body language, which is a form of non-verbal communication because nothing is being said, nothing is being written, still a message is being transmitted from one person to the other by means of probably body language. So this transmission, or when a message is communicated without the usage of words, this process can be termed as non-verbal communication. There are non-verbal cues or hints, are like there is kinesics, which is body language. We have the example of proxemics, chronomix, haptics. Haptics is the language of touch. There is paralanguage. Silence also is a form of communication, and sign language. So let's see what these different things are. So what is kinesics? Now, kinesics refers to body language which plays an important part or important role in nonverbal communication. Now, body language communicates without words through various movements of its parts. Some are conscious and some are unconscious. Now, what are the things that it involves? It involves aspects like personal appearance, the way that one appears to be can also communicate something. A person's gait or walk, the way one person walks. If a person is in a lot of tension or hurry, automatically their gait or their walk, the speed increases, right? If a person is sad or dejected, the gait or the walk of the person slows down, the speed slows down. So all these little things also can help understand a person as to what the other person is trying to communicate. If you find yourself to be very excited, you will find that there is a little bit of step in your walk, right? Or people are excited in their walking style. Then there is gesture. Gesture is hand movements, facial expression, hand movements, posture, as well as eye contact. So all these things come under kinesics, right? From eye contact also one can easily communicate. Sometimes When we are looking at the other person, if the other person is staring directly at you, it gives an indication of a lot of confidence. If the other person fails to look in your eyes, then it can be indicative of guilt also. So even little body language or movement can also express a big message. What is proxemics? Proxemics is a space or lack of it between the sender and the receiver, right? What does it mean, or how does it indicate? When one hugs someone, now there are no words that are being exchanged, but the warmth of the relationship can be felt by both parties, right? So that is proxemics, when the space between two people, the distance between two people can communicate something, right? Third is chronomics. What is chronomics? How one manages time communicates a lot about a person. If a person arrives late for a meeting, people react negatively, right? If somebody arrives early, it can be perceived as over eagerness. So one should always be on time, neither late nor early. Next, what is haptics? Haptics is the language of touch. We communicate with the sense of touch as well. This is known as haptics, like shaking hands, a pat on the back. When do we pat somebody on the back? When we try to give them some kind of encouragement. Slapping, hand on somebody's cheek in a forceful manner. It can indicate anger. There are kissing and other forms of haptics. So the language of touch is haptics. Next is paralanguage. Paralanguage is the way meaning is conveyed by how we say things while speaking. So what is it all about? It is all about a person's voice, pitch, rate, pauses, articulation, modulation. If a person speaks in a stuttering fashion, if they are not able to form coherent sentences, it can indicate nervousness, it can indicate fear. If a person is very confident, you will be able to gauge it or guess it from the way that the person is trying to speak to you. Next form of non-verbal communication is sign language. What is sign language? Sign language refers to symbols which are commonly used, such as traffic symbols or traffic signals are signs or symbols that are common all over the world. A person who is traveling all over the world, these are certain signs which you will find commonly understood by all. Like a red light indicates that traffic has to stop, whereas a green light indicates that the traffic can move forward. Other examples of signs are road signals, graphs, maps, alarms, sirens, etc. Sirens, for example, when we hear an ambulance, everybody knows that they have to give way for it, right? Similarly, there are danger signs where a skull is present, and on top of it there are two crossed bones. It is a common universal sign or a symbol which is understood by people all over the world. And then there are audio signs, visual signs, audio-visual signs, which come in the category of sign language. Non-verbal cues form a major part of the communication process, almost 93% of it. Therefore, it is significant that we focus our attention to this aspect of communication. Next, coming to the next form of communication, that is the intrapersonal communication. Intrapersonal communication refers to an individual's reflection, contemplation, as well as meditation. When we are thinking to ourselves, when we are talking to ourselves in our minds, when the communication takes place within one's own self, it is termed as intrapersonal communication. There is no other person to talk to. When you are talking to yourself, that is called as intra, I-N-T-R-A, intrapersonal. The next one is interpersonal, when two or more people are talking. Interpersonal communication refers to all communications that we share with other human beings. It can be directly written, or it can be oral in nature. The conversation that is occurring between two or more people. The oral form of this type of communication is the example of dialogue, or a conversation between two or more is personal. It can be direct, and it permits a maximum exchange of information. This was interpersonal, I-N-T-E-R. The next is extrapersonal. What is extrapersonal? Communication does not always take place among human beings. We also communicate with other non-human entities or animal species like dogs or birds, the pets that we have. We talk to them, we call them, and they obey our orders. So it is also a form of communication that is happening. Communication with our pets can be termed as extrapersonal communication. Next is mass communication. What is mass communication? Generally identified with the tools of modern mass media. These tools include press, it can be cinema, television, radio, internet, social media, etc. It's a means of conveying message to an entire population. It also includes speeches delivered by world leaders or prophets. So the basic purpose of mass communication is that information should spread out to maximum number of people all at once, so that it reaches the masses. The last one is media communication. So any communication that is taking place with the help of electronic media, right? Like computer, cell phones, videos, television, all these things. It comes in the category of media communication. Internet has become the biggest form of media communication, be it official or personal. So these were the various forms of communication that we have learned today. Thank you.